Have you ever had one of those days where everything just flows effortlessly? You wake up, start working on something, and before you know it, you've accomplished more in half a day than you usually do in an entire week. And then there are days when, despite your best intentions, you can't get anything done. You open your computer, stare at the screen, and an hour later, you find yourself scrolling through social media, watching random videos, or checking your email for the 10th time. Why does this happen? The truth is, productivity has nothing to do with willpower or waiting for motivation to strike. You've always been told that to be productive, you need to find the right inspiration, be disciplined, or work harder. But if that were true, no one would ever procrastinate. Even the most productive people don't wake up every day feeling motivated. They've just learned a mental trick that few people know: how their brain actually works when it comes to getting things done. Have you ever put off a task for weeks, only to finish it in a few hours the night before the deadline, with laser-sharp focus? That's because you unknowingly activated the productivity cycle. Here's how it works. You start a task, even a tiny one. Just the act of getting started gives you a small sense of accomplishment. That accomplishment releases dopamine, which makes you want to keep going. The more you work, the more motivated you become, and the cycle feeds itself. The problem is that most people wait until they feel motivated before they start. But the truth is, motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after. It's like a car. If you wait for it to start moving on its own, you'll stay stuck forever. You have to push it first. When you say, "I need to start today," but keep postponing it because "I'm not feeling it," you're waiting for a signal that will never come. The trick to breaking out of this loop is simple. Just start, even for 30 seconds. Your brain hates leaving things unfinished. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Once you start something, your brain wants to complete it. Have you ever had a song stuck in your head until you finally listened to it? That's your brain desperately trying to close an open loop. The same principle applies to work. Once you begin, it's much harder to stop. Another powerful hack is the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, "I'll work on this for just 5 minutes, then I can stop." 5 minutes is such a short time that your brain won't resist it. But what usually happens? Once you start, you realize it's not as bad as you thought, and you just keep going. Getting started is always the hardest part. To make this process even easier, break tasks into microscopic steps. If you want to go to the gym, don't think about the full workout. Just put on your sneakers. If you need to write an article, don't think about finishing it. Just write the first sentence. Once you take the first step, momentum takes over. Another trick that works wonders? Task lists, but not the vague kind. If you write "study for the exam," your brain sees it as a massive, unclear task. Instead, break it down into micro steps like: open the textbook, read 5 pages, take notes. Each small step feels manageable, and every time you check something off, your brain releases another dose of dopamine, pushing you to keep going. Now, if you want to supercharge your productivity, use fake deadlines. Have you noticed how you work better when you're under pressure? That's because urgency forces your brain to focus. Simulate this effect by setting a 25-minute timer and challenging yourself to finish as much as possible within that time. When time is limited, your brain stops procrastinating. And here's another secret. Your environment matters more than you think. If your phone is next to you, you'll end up using it. If you put it in another room, suddenly, the temptation disappears. If you always work in the same spot, your brain associates that place with relaxation rather than focus. Try switching locations, moving to a different corner of the room, or even just turning your chair in a new direction. It might sound silly, but it works. Lastly, reward yourself. After a productive session, give yourself something to look forward to. Maybe a coffee, an episode of your favorite show, or a short break. Your brain craves rewards, and when it associates work with pleasure, it stops resisting productivity. So the next time you feel stuck, don't wait for motivation. Start with action, even just for 30 seconds. Once you begin, the rest will follow. Now, here's a challenge for you. Pick a task you've been putting off for days. Set a 5-minute timer and start. It doesn't matter how small it is, just start. Then come back and tell me, did you manage to stop after 5 minutes? If you want more strategies to stop procrastinating and make your days more productive, subscribe to Boosty Mind, because your time is too precious to waste.